Going live. Let's see if this works better than it did earlier. Earlier in the day, it kept telling me it dropped signal. So we shall see. So I have to admit, after I finished last night, the brain just kept plugging away at some of those ideas. And I'm kind of super excited about, of all things, the silly little squid game. I can't believe that's the one that my brain latched onto and fell in love with. It's just so silly. It's such a silly thing. But at any rate, let's start with some of the others. I feel like the one that needs to be really brainstormed through the most is the memory puzzle game. Because the do I want to make that one a rage game? I don't know. I've seen some of those games where people try to play them and they're just so impossible to do that they're called rage games. They drive people crazy and they get angry and break things because it's just so frustrating. And I like the idea. The only reason I want to do that is because I like the title of Liquid Metal Rage. I don't know if I want to do that though. I don't like the idea of creating a game that makes people angry. But making a game called Liquid Metal Rage would be, I'll have to think about that. I'll do a little research tonight on what rage games are and how to meet that without making an impossible to win game. I think that would be too easy to do. I've seen some of those games where like, well, you know what? That might be totally worth trying to do. Because a lot of those rage games are the rage games are oftentimes you try to do something that's possible but just barely possible, and you keep failing and you keep dying and you keep failing and you keep dying, but it just starts you right over again at a save point sometimes. Maybe not at a save point. Maybe that's part of the rage. Just so angry that you have to start at the beginning all over again. But yeah, I'm not sure I want to do a rage game, but it might actually work for Liquid Metal. So I'll think about that one. The Liquid Metal Rage game idea might work. Like I said, I'll get to the squid game because that one my brain just latched onto last night and just kept playing with all night long, and I'm totally in love with the story idea now. Not really the story, but the game design idea. The third one is the least fleshed out, the puzzle memory game. I still got to figure some of it out. My brain is telling me I want to do a game that's sort of based off of not just random symbols. I don't want to do like a starburst, an oval, a triangle, a square. I don't want them to be specific logos. I actually thought for a little while about using the different symbols I made for my channel, the 8 different categories of content that I make for my channel. Might even split up health and well-being into exercise and diet, and split up art and music into art and music. That would give me 10 categories of content and 10 symbols to use. But I mean, it doesn't have any real appeal to me at that point, other than I have a ready-made set of symbols to use. So my brain keeps telling me, I keep referring to my brain as if it's a separate entity from myself. I just keep thinking that I want it to be sort of like in part, you're solving the memory pieces. You're trying to work your way through increasing levels of tiles moving in. You're increasing your score, but you're also collecting sets. Or something like it. I feel like if you could do something like that, where as you collect sets, you can then use them and exchange them for upgrades or oh, see, that's not a bad idea. If you collected a set of symbols, it adds, you have an inventory. Say if each tile was a different herb, each one was a different herb, then you could make an herbal potion or something that grants you an ability further on in the game. And so you're collecting the components. I guess that's what I'll call them, not necessarily herbs, but spell components, essentially. And you have a list of spell recipes that you can work towards accumulating the resources for. And say you need 3 pairs of fire and 2 pair of steel to make a knife that lets you cut any grass tile without a pair. And so like that's not a bad approach to do that. I don't think I want to do like herbs or spell components. I think I want to work on it a little bit more of like a artifact collecting or and maybe something in the realm of alchemy or something like that that's interesting and that could lend itself to a nice art theme, a fascinating art theme, glyphs or symbols or something like that, runes maybe, I don't know. Maybe something like bind runes, yeah. Anyway, so I'm trying to figure out what the best way to do that is, and make a game that's not just matching pairs, but collecting sets that enable you to fabricate tools that let you proceed further and level up and advance further. Maybe make the symbols that you collect. You have to get a certain number of them. So instead of doing by pairs, so like you have to get tiles in order to get them off the board, you have to get them in pairs at least. But you can do 3 to 5 can be on the board, and you can collect them all in one sweep too. So those should go over into your inventory as the number of ones you've just collected. And so if you do that, your recipes should be something like 8 of one kind, 4 of another, 6 of one, and that recipe would grant you a ability that lets you clear out certain tiles or certain locations on the board. And recipes are offered for purchase via spending your experience points or money, your points. So some form of currency there. so that you can spend points to buy new recipes that grant you more abilities to remove certain tiles and clear more of the board easier. And at the same time, the boards can get more difficult by adding new symbols at certain levels, new components or whatever we want to call them at certain levels for more complicated recipes. But if you start with 6 components and you have a 6x6 grid, you're guaranteed to have a lot more matching sets that you can eliminate. But if you end up with 20 different symbols, there's a better chance that a lot of the board is going to be one single tile without a matched pair. And so you're going to need those special abilities to clear sections of the board more. And recipes, you're going to need more recipes to get more symbols that let you clear more sorts of things off the board. And the way I have sort of thought about this things appearing on the board is you have your grid, and when you click a matched pair, say like down here and up here, they flip over, and if they match, they both disappear. And then say first level, the columns that they're in drop down one to add a new one, and then you get a reintroduction to where everything is on the board. But it's also possible to introduce things from the top, the bottom, the left, and the right side, and at certain points, maybe just have a random feature, like a creature that comes in across the board and drops a new tile in the spot without moving any of the others. Maybe something comes up from underneath, something drops down from the top. Ways to introduce tiles randomly from different directions. And sort of like I feel like if that's going to be the case, that the new tiles coming into that row or column need to appear off to the side. So you're going to have maybe a few gaps with some tiles and a few gaps with some tiles, and that means that every spot could be filled from one of them. I don't know. I'll have to think about the way that new tiles are introduced in the game, but I'm not even sure this game can be built in Build Box, so I may have to do it in a different way with a different system. And I have to figure out what the symbol sets are, what the different recipes are, what the different special abilities are that you acquire along the way. But I think that one's going to take a lot more work to figure out. But when I get it right, I think it'll be a really decent game. Now, the Liquid Metal Rage, I do think that's the perfect name for that game. And if I make it a rage game, it adds a bit of flavor, because right now what it is just work your way through a maze. Don't get caught between an edge and the edge of the screen as the screen advances on its own and pinches you to death. And don't get parts of yourself or your whole self caught in a dead end as the screen advances and you can't backtrack. I think a rage game about covers how I could make that game play out. And that leads us to my favorite thing to think about over the last couple days is I came up with a name for the squid game. Okay, so It was literally within 10 minutes of closing the video last night, I came up with a name for that game. And it's Cuddle Pop, as in cuttlefish. Cuttle. Cuddle Pop, because she's a pop singer. And so, like, the first level would be just sort of like you're working. I think for the, I might do sequels to this game where I add layers of complexity or features, or I may just allow some of that to happen later on as I add new levels or something. But for the base game, it's going to be very similar to Flappy Birds. Instead of going horizontal, I feel it makes more sense to hold your phone vertical and go up. So you're just tapping to keep your character moving up, and the screen's going to advance, and so you have to keep ahead of the bottom of the screen, and you have to avoid the obstacles on either side. And sometimes something will pop out that's a danger to you and could slow you down. And so you have to keep ahead of that. And you, instead of doing a counter for how far you're going, have a timer that you have to keep ahead of. So I sort of feel like the story element, as I started making these games with the intent to not have a story element to them, but I can't help it. I just can't help it. Story element is the main character is a cuttlefish girl who is a pop singer with her bandmates, and you start out as the first character, and you're trying to get as far as you can, trying to get all the way to the end of the first level with some time left on the clock. I might set it up so that it's as you go from level 1 to level 2, the same, what's left on the clock when you finished level 1 is left on the clock is what you have to get through level 2 and 3 with. And level 1 is maybe getting treasure chests. You have to get to treasure chests along the way and collect everything you need, like the clothing on the first level, the instruments on the second level, and then get your bandmates on the third level. And then at the end of the third level is the concert that you're going to, and you're going to perform at. So I'm saying a lot tonight. So a lot too. I did it again. That mental organizing word. There it is again. Cuttlefish. The theme of the characters, I feel like the art should be fun. Cute, fun, simple. I don't really feel like I want there to be fighting or monsters or traps necessarily. I think it really should just be about, can you get through each level with enough time to get to the concert on time? And it should be kind of hard to do that, like a challenge. And you have to get through with all of your outfits, your costumes, your instruments, and your bandmates. If you miss any of them, then you haven't completed the level right, and you have to do it again. The thing I sort of like about this game idea is you can do really cute, fun art for cutaway scenes or finishing levels or the intro video and the closing credits could be really fun art, and the art for the levels themselves could be pretty decent. You do some decent video game music for the levels, but the opening and the closing should have full songs as if the band is performing. And then I feel like once you've beaten all 3 levels and gone to your first concert, you should be able to unlock one of the other characters. So like the main character that you play the first round in, I'm rethinking here. It's like maybe the first level literally is collect the costumes, instruments, and bandmates to get to the first concert. And once you've done that, you've unlocked one of the bandmates, and you can play level 1 again as the bandmate, or level 1 or 2 as either the first character or the bandmate. And when you finish level 2, you unlock the third bandmate. And I feel like being able to maybe make in-game purchases could be something I add later on. And I'm not usually one for doing the in-game purchase aspect of some of those games, but I think in this case, and I'll explain in a minute, I think in this case it actually adds to the game. The idea of different costumes, different instruments, I think that's about all that I would want to do. Or like stickers or posters or things like that that you can collect, collectible aspects. I feel like there should maybe be like a trophy room, or like almost like a paper doll. You could dress in different costumes, give different instruments to, and use different bandmates to dress up and give different instruments to. And part of the reason I feel like that could be super fun and super adorable to do, but I also want to do it because I feel like the thing that would be important to do with this game is if I can figure out how to do it, I would love it if I could make this game so that like 25% of the profits made from the game sales would go to an organization that helps clean up the ocean. Like that would be an amazing thing. And so to have the game purchase fund cleaning the oceans or helping endangered fish or things like that, or helping the coral reef recovery, those kinds of things would be amazing to be able to do with an app game like that. But on top of that, having the in-game purchase where you can collect and make customizable dolls and pictures and posters and whatnot, if they're cheap, like 25 cents to 50 cents for a purchase of some of those things, and make some things purchasable with points from games or completing levels and trophies or whatever you do. Have a master board of top scores, and but also have purchasable features that don't change how the game plays. I don't want it to make it easier to play the game by purchase. I hate that kind of game. But I think having little features that you can use to customize and artistically play with the characters and the concept of the game, that would be a lot of fun to be able to do. And knowing that every one of those purchases you make, like out of every dollar you spend in the purchasable feature store, 25 cents goes to helping clean up the oceans or helping the coral reef recover. That, I think, that is the kind of game I want to make. Like, if I'm going to make games for sale and not for, shareware and share with friends and for fun, I want a game that potentially has a chance of helping out the world in some way. And I like this idea a lot. And of course, as is standard for the way I do things, I've added extra complications to add to the project further on. Already brainstorming concepts of future versions of the game. So version like a sequel, but also because they're a pop band, I gotta see if I can figure out, like, I know I can write songs, I can compose songs with some of the music software I have, and I can write lyrics. I don't think I can sing the song in the voice of a female pop singer. So I may have to hire somebody to be the voice of the characters or do some of the singing. But I think it would be fun to release a few songs for the fictional band, which I gotta think of some other names for, because the first name that came to mind was a play on the word Nautilus. It was Naughty Lass as the band name for 3 squid girls. I may still stick to that. It's just too good not to. But I want it to be adorable and not risque or weird. But I do kind of want to make these characters full-fleshed characters, not just a random critter that you move through a screen. I mean, at that point, it might as well just be a ball that rolls through a field, and that's all that it does. I don't want it to be that. I want it to actually be characters that you kind of like, you can do it, and you're trying as hard as you can to get them through the level because you want them to get to the concert and play their song. And maybe the first one can be the opening credits, the opening screen song, a song for the end of each level, the background song for each level with no vocals, maybe with vocals. I don't know. I'll have to figure that out. And then the closing credits song. So I could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 8 different songs, maybe. And maybe 7 to 9 if I do a you didn't win but you get a song anyway kind of thing. That's almost an album. I could release the first batch as their musical album a few months after the game release. You can download it through the Apple Store, a song at a time or as the whole set. And again, a portion of the profits go to helping the oceans. I think that's a really good gimmick for a game. I don't want to call it a gimmick, but I think that's a really good feature of a game. And it has me thinking about my other games and wondering, is there a way that I can do that for all of them? Like, what cause could Captain Mr. Space Ninja benefit? What cause could Slime Boy or the zombie survival game support? What cause could the people of the Clear Waters could support cleaning up lakes and rivers? That's not really what the theme of the game is it? That just happens to be the name of the population in that game. Anyway, and the 3 games I'm working on right now, like what could Liquid Metal Rage benefit, and what could the as yet unnamed puzzle game that I'm working on benefit. I mean, I really like this idea of building something that the games support and benefit something in the real world as you play and enjoy the game. And there are, I think, some ways in some of the game development software that allow you to do. The thing they usually recommend is that you put a place in your game for banner ads to show up. So there are ads popping up at the bottom of your game all the time you're playing it if it's a free game. And then you make it possible to purchase ad-free gameplay. And that's one way of doing it. Now, if you have banner ads that are in your game, you get ad revenue from them. And if I set it up so that a port like that, 25% of ad revenue goes to support cleaning the oceans and saving the reefs, or 25% of all purchase of ad-free versions of the game go to those causes. I mean, that's a possibility. I have to figure out how that part works if I want to get it to work. And I have to figure out what kind of contracts or contacts I need to make to make that. And I also have to figure out what that's going to mean for any tax revenue, because I'm going to have to pay tax on anything I earn from these games. If I set it up wrong, I will pay tax on money that's going to clean the oceans that I never get. So I got to figure out the right way to do that. But in the long run, I'm willing to do it wrong in order to learn how to do it right. And I will keep people informed on this channel about what I did wrong and what I need to do to get it right. So that's sort of where I am right now. I love being able to sit down here. I started tonight with no idea what I was doing with the puzzle game, knowing that I wanted to do certain things, but I didn't know how I would achieve it. And now I've actually got more of a structure and an idea what I'm going to do with that than I did when I first sat down tonight. And we're on day 3. So day 3 of the planning and design of these games, I came in with one game mostly worked out, another game kind of figured out, not sure where I was going to go with it, not even a finished title on it yet. And the third game, no title, no real concept other than one basic mechanism. And now I'm finishing tonight with roughly 2 whole game concepts worked out. Mechanisms, plots, goals, abilities, whatnot. And a third one mostly worked out with a few things to finish off on the end. And I love that I can sit down here and brainstorm out loud for a half an hour, share that process with you, and come away with more ideas than I started the night with. All right, so we actually pulled off about a half an hour with this, and I kind of like aiming for a half an hour these days. I think the 45-minute to an hour can be very rambly and sort of disintegrates at the end. Sometimes it turns into just a good back and forth conversation, which I don't mind spending a little extra time on, but trying to keep it relatively concise and on topic as I can for at least a half an hour. So I thank you for joining me on this. We'll see where we start off tomorrow night and see where we end tomorrow night. So I need to see if I can get some videos up tonight for the board game, the next generation Star Trek board game. I can't believe I forgot to do that, but it's out there, it's set up. I'm going to see if I can get my internet and my computer and my camera to work for me, and then do a review of that. I did the prompts based off of it. And then I need to do a taste test video. I have an old one on the other computer, which is currently put away. So I'm going to have to dig it out and see if I can get it up either tonight or tomorrow. And then tonight or tomorrow, I think, is music review and prompt. And then another health and fitness and exercise and diet, a video at 8. And then 10:30, another coming back to discuss these games more. So there's sort of a lot of extra stuff going up in the next day or two. After that, I believe video games go up Thursday. So a review and prompts based on video games goes up on Thursday. And then Friday is the coverage of my base fitness routine that I'm doing between these experiments that I'm doing. And I really want to get that up by the end of the week. And then, yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure where some of that is. I had trouble earlier today. I restarted my computer. I had trouble because it kept dropping my signal while I was recording. But it looks like afterwards that it still has the full time, so it may not have dropped the signal. I don't know what's been going on. I also noticed that YouTube has made a few different changes to the live streaming. Used to be when I start live streaming, over here in the right-hand corner where the chat shows up, there was a thing at the top. It was a tab. It can do live chat or top chat. Now it only says live chat, so it doesn't give me that other option. Not that I ever used or wanted top chat. I don't know why that was a thing. And some of the features of this have been a little bit different. So I'm remembering some of the differences that have happened, and I'm cautious about pushing this a little too much because I've had too many, and like it's so weird. This has worked perfectly fine all week until I unplugged everything, took it to another room for a little while this afternoon to work on some stuff, brought it all back in here and plugged it all back in together, and that's when I got the dropped signal thing again. And I don't know what's doing it. But I mean, I do think after this year I will do less. I won't do an every night live stream because I feel like some of the things I want to do may benefit from being pre-recorded and uploaded, but I may do them as premieres, which I think is less intense on the computer, less intense on my internet stream, because it's not uploading video and audio all at the same time. The video and audio are already there. It just does the live chat off to the side live. Much easier on the computer, the internet feed, and my channel, I guess. I don't know if the channel can get overloaded. I would imagine not, considering there are a lot of people who have like 150 people come in for their premiere videos to chat or something like that. But yeah, I'm going to do some tinkering and see if I can improve what I'm able to do with this channel. I have been doing a lot less of the editing of the videos for this. Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah, there's some of that happens, and that may be on your end as well as my end sometimes. I think some of it is like I know sometimes when I'm working on a project like this game, like the 3 games that I'm working on, that I'll have like 16 windows open in 3 different browsers where I'm researching cuttlefish and coral reefs and organizations that benefit the ocean, and I'll be looking up things like rage games and doing a name search for different games that might have the same name. So I have to be careful of that. Figure out how to do artwork, tutorials on how to make a certain type of level in a game. So I got all these things wide open, along with a few correspondences that I'm back and forth, and some of those types of pages that I got to contact and work with other people. And so that can clutter up and limit the processor available for doing the live streams. So some of that's my fault sometimes. And I think that may have been part of the issue earlier tonight when I was trying to live stream the exercise and diet stuff. Was I had 3 browsers open, and each browser had at least 5 windows open in it, 5 tabs. And I also had, I think, 6 text files open with notes for various projects in them. And that can be too much for a computer sometimes. And I hadn't shut down and restarted in probably a week. So I know some of that. There are ways I can do better with that. I'm still not sure why. Like I still think white balance is an issue when I'm trying to show screens or paper. And I still got to figure that portion out if I want to do more of the showing projects I'm working on in progress. But if that continues to be something that's too hard to work out, those are going to be projects that I'm probably going to pre-record and post as a premiere video and just live chat on the side when they go up. I do think that's probably the better way to do the 3 recipe days that I'm going to do for August 1st through, because I've had that fail too many times on me where it cuts out chunks of what I'm doing. And the cooking projects that I'm going to be doing for some of these are going to be things that it may take half an hour to 3 hours. And I'm like, you don't need to sit there and wait with me for it to freeze or cook. And I was like, I think it might just make more sense to just do Premiere and then comment live on the side. So we're coming up on 45 minutes now, and I think, well, it's 42 and a half right now. I'm going to call it here tonight. Feels like it's getting warmer again. I don't know if that's my laptop baking my lap right now, but I'm going to turn on the AC, I think, to cool down a little bit, and then get something to eat, do a little more work on the projects tonight, see if I can figure out a little bit more of the last game and learn a little bit more about rage games. And I will be back tomorrow. It's a lot. I also have to finish editing the review of the Star Trek The Next Generation game. And see if I can pull out that old, the taste test is one I did with a friend 2 years ago. I've had it sitting on a hard drive for 2 years, and I just need to get it out there. Just share it. It's sort of fun. We were sitting on a couch goofing around, tasting things and making snarky comments, which is a blast. I need to get more people to do that with me. All right. I will call it there for tonight. Thank you for joining me. See you tomorrow. All right. End stream. I do like the sitting arrangement I've got going on better.